Hi, it's Kerry here again. First time I've done a full-on video like this for quite a while, so bear with me as I find my feet. I've got the microphone plugged in, so hopefully you're hearing this just as well. Not using the RX 100 this time around, even though the picture quality was better, it did present a few more problems like a narrower angle of view, and I was cutting all the books off out of frame, so I'll have to work out a better position for that camera if I'm going to use it in the future. So anyway, it is Sunday the 25th of April 2021, and I'm here on a kind of double header of a video I'm making. I should have done this one yesterday, but I was just too tired and I had to have a bit of a lay down in the afternoon because I am an old man now. Now, first of all, I'm going to do a couple of acquisitions, and then we'll go on to the main event, which is these two books, Slough House, which I finished a week ago today, and Missing Persons, which I finished on Wednesday evening. So on Friday I came home and found a package from the book outlet in the letterbox. Now this is the book outlet order which I made before the code breakers, and this is these two books by Peter Berbegal, Season of the Witch and Strange Frequencies. Now, both books that have been on my Amazon and Book Depository wish list for a couple of years now. Season of the Witch is a study of how the occult influenced pop music and pop culture in the 60s and 70s, subheading how the occult saved rock and roll or something like that. Seems like it might be very interesting, even though if you don't buy the thesis entirely. And Strange Frequencies, this is the same authors look at people who claim to have technological solutions for communicating with the afterlife and the paranormal, you know, inventors, entrepreneurs and hucksters down the years, and the products which they promised would do the job. So that's those two out of the way. I've just hit the microphone cable, so hopefully you still can hear me. Right, Slough House. Now, I was glad to get back into the world of Slough House, Mick Herron's novel series. This is the 7th book in the series, and I feel I have to say, if you're new to the series, do not start at this book. There's a lot of backstories for all the individual characters which are built up and give you a much better ride if you've read the earlier books. It probably is readable standalone, but you'll get a lot more out of it if you've read the earlier books. Now, what's this one about? Well, in the Slough House universe, the same things have happened as in reality. The Russians have sent assassins to poison individuals from the United Kingdom with a Novichok nerve agent. They've succeeded in killing one person, and there's a lot of fury with the Secret Service. They seem to be impotent at countering these attacks. So Diana Taverner, the head of the Secret Service, decides to strike back, and she basically hires mercenary to attack one of the Russian agents who caused the initial attack. And to pay for the mercenaries, she actually accepts money from private industry, private investors. And to her shock and surprise, these private investors actually want to have a say in things going forward. And she is a bit dismayed about this. And meanwhile, Slough House, the office building where the miscreants and failures of the Secret Service are put out to pasture, basically, have discovered that their electronic records about themselves have been wiped from the Secret Service's archives. And that makes them wonder what's going on, and their members seem to be being stalked by other agents which they believe are Secret Service agents. And meanwhile, the Russians have somehow got hold of information which tells them the ID and location of what they think is a top secret British hit squad. You probably don't have to join too many dots to realise that the Russians have actually learnt the IDs and locations of the Slough House crew, and they're coming after them thinking that they are an elite hit squad. Now, that pretty much sums up the main points of the book. Oh, the other story thread is Peter Judd. He's like the analogue to Boris Yeltsin, Boris Johnson. Sorry, what a slip. Boris Johnson in the Slough House universe, and unlike the real world, he's actually left politics and is in a PR firm, and he likes to manipulate things beyond the scenes. And there's a growing public uprising in the UK in the book of the yellow vest, you know, like the French protesters of recent times. And he basically wants to control these yellow vests and use them for his own purposes behind the scenes and what have you. So that's another issue that's going on, and probably will pop up again in the next book because it's not completely resolved. So the things I like about this book is basically the gritty, down-to-earth settings. Mick Herron's always good at describing a place and time, and the not so pristine state of the office and what have you. And of course, the main thing that I like these books for is the banter between the team. They feel like old friends. You know what they're like. There's like Roddy Ho, who's a self-obsessed computer expert. He may be good at computers, but he's a bit of a complete klutz elsewhere. He thinks he's the best man for every job, but he turns out to be a failure. And there's River Cartwright, probably the most competent agent in Slough House, whose family connections have caused a lot of drama in the past. And then there's, let me see, Shirley Dander, whose drug problems probably still haven't ended. And there's Louisa, and there's Catherine Standish, who's former alcoholic, who the only one that really keeps Jackson Lamb in line. And of course there's Jackson Lamb himself. You know, he's the boss of Slough House, and he seems like he has a very offhand attitude towards his agents, but in reality he really cares about their welfare, and if anything comes up against them, he'll strike back with a tremendous force. And he's not past threatening the head of the Secret Service if she doesn't do things that he wants. Now, Jackson Lamb is a slovenly character, which is that Herron lovingly describes his habits and disgusting habits and lack of hygiene. And he, the book, when he's on screen in the book, in the scene, book really takes off. He's got the best lines, the best humour, the snarkiness, the sarcasm, and it's almost worth it just to read the Jackson Lamb character alone. Now, this book is a little more sombre than some of the earlier ones in the series. It talks a lot about troubled times and you-know-what, which I assume is code for Brexit. He's avoided mentioning the pandemic. He mentions that in the afterword, that he decided not to include that, even though it happened when he was at the tail end of writing the book. So anyway, so there's, like I said, there's 7 novels, and there are, I think, 3 novellas and short stories in the series Slough House, and they're all connected. They all build on each other. There's quite a high death rate among the Slough House crew, so every couple of books are new characters introduced to their ranks, and there's a bit of a revolving door who's involved in which book. But you come to love the characters, and you want to see what they do next, and that's really the best type of recommendation for a series. That he hasn't run out of ideas yet, and he's just keeping that motor running, and makes me want to look forward to the 8th book whenever that comes out. Right, so that's Slough House by Mick Herron. The first book in the series is Slow Horses, and then just start there and continue on. They're all readily available online and then probably in your local bookshop. Okay, and totally far away from Slough House is Missing Persons, Steve Braunias' latest book. I haven't actually read his earlier books in the same genre, but I don't think that really matters. So what this book is it's divided into 12 chapters, and it's the majority of it is his court reporting in New Zealand high-profile court cases, and things like from the Grace Mullane murder case, which kind of obsessed the media in last year, There's 2 chapters that kind of bookend this book. There's the initial appearance of the perpetrator in court, and then at the end of the book we have his sentence, and he reproduces the judge's statement in full. And elsewhere in the book we look at the Mark Lundy case. One of the victims in the Anthony Dixon samurai sword attack case has a little chat with Braunias. Malcolm Rewa, who finally gets justice after 20 odd years when he murdered a woman in her bed, and so on. There's cases that you've probably heard of, most of them, the court cases. And in between the court case stuff, he's got these lengthier chapters about people who either have gone missing or died, and he delves deeply into the lives and the friends and the family of these people, and then as they wonder why they went off the rails and how they ended up the way they ended up. And these chapters are probably the best reporting, best journalism in the book. You get a real feel for the characters and their lives and the secrets they held, and how it affected their families. And there's a couple of lighter-hearted chapters which kind of break up the somber tone of this book, and they cover the politician Colin Craig, who used to be the leader of the Conservative Party, who I think popped up around the 2014 election, and he got himself immersed in a whole lot of personal trouble when he made all sorts of unwelcome advances on one of his staff members, and anyone who reported on it or spoke about it, he slapped libel cases against, and he's basically got these eternal libel cases about the same issue, which he continually loses, but he keeps fighting them, and he looks like quite a hapless figure. And Braunias seems to have some sympathy for him, but he is really presented as a figure of fun. And another similar chapter, Braunias goes to Queenstown to talk to Kim.com, the famous German entrepreneur, who doesn't really delve into his court case and extradition hearings really that much. It's more about his long-standing plans to survive World War III or the collapse of civilization in a bunker in New Zealand somewhere, and how the ongoing court cases and hearings are actually affecting his plans to create this bunker. And he doesn't really show very joined up thinking about how he's going to survive, and Braunias tries to get more information out of him, but there's not really much there to get, basically. And yeah, so it's a very interesting book. It really shows a side of New Zealand that we probably don't like to promote, and it's really like New Zealand as it really can be, rather than as we'd prefer it to be seen as. And Braunias, of course, injects himself into several of these articles. He puts himself as a sort of hapless figure, stumbling his way through the world, almost relating to some of the people he's writing about. But there's just enough of that to keep things moving along. He doesn't really centre himself in any of the chapters. And Braunias here, he's basically, I've come to appreciate him as a modern New Zealand writer. He is a voice for this country, of this country. He may come off a little slight, but I think, he's a genuine voice that we should be listening to. Okay, so that is Missing Persons by Steve Braunias, and that's available in any New Zealand bookshop at the moment, and also online in the usual locations. So that's about that for those books. They're all wrapped up, and the last thing I'm going to have to say is a few days ago, with very short notice, I accepted a new job, a new role, and that is going to probably take me away from doing these videos during the week. So I'll probably only have time to do wrap-ups and the acquisition videos in the weekend from here on. We'll see how things go. It may only last for about 3 or 4 months. The position is fixed termed so far, but we'll see what happens. So that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video and me droning on here. If you're a new viewer, please subscribe if you'd like this. Thumbs up as well. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for your continued loyalty, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.